Tom had no idea why she left the way she did. It was 6:08 a.m. when he noticed her car wasn't in the driveway. Maria always arrived by 6 sharp, punctual to the minute, 5 days a week for the last 2 years. No text, no call, just absence. He just finished a protein shake, standing in the kitchen in sweats, scrolling through his messages. Nothing from Maria. Then something strange. He realized the cleaning supplies in the hallway closet were missing. All of them. That's when it hit him. She didn't just miss work. She had left. But why? She was kind, quiet, efficient, never asked for anything, never overstepped. In fact, he'd hardly ever had a real conversation with her beyond good morning and thanks. But there was something about her silence. It wasn't cold. It was guarded. Tom set his phone down and looked out at the driveway again. He remembered yesterday how she'd been wiping down the kitchen counters while the TV played highlights from the Patriots' comeback win. She hadn't looked up once. He remembered thinking, she never watches football. Isn't that strange for someone working in this house? He rubbed the back of his neck. Something was gnawing at him, a feeling he couldn't shake. Maybe it was the fact that he'd just retired, that the house was quieter than ever, and Maria's absence suddenly felt louder than everything else. He tapped into the home's security footage. She'd left early yesterday at just after 3 p.m. Normally, she stayed until 5. In the video, she was carrying a brown paper bag and a backpack. Her walk was hurried, shoulders tense, and then something else. A child's voice. Off camera, faint, like a whisper carried through static. "Apúrate, mama." Tom froze. Maria had a kid. How did he not know that? He rewound the footage. There it was again, the voice. Small, urgent. Then a glimpse. A boy, maybe 5 or 6, peeking from behind the garden wall, clutching a tattered blue backpack. His face looked sunken, tired. Tom leaned back in the chair, heart thudding. Why would she bring her child here in secret? Was she living out of her car? He stared at the screen, and in that moment, something shifted in him. Maybe it was the way the kid looked up at Maria, like she was his entire world. Maybe it was the way she looked back, pulling him into her arms like she was afraid she might lose him. Whatever it was, it stuck with him. So he got in his car. He knew where she parked during breaks, the side lot near the strip mall off US 1. She used to eat lunch there in her car, always alone. If she was in trouble, that's where she'd be. He didn't know what he expected to find, but when he turned the corner, his breath caught in his throat. There she was. Maria, sitting on the curb next to a silver sedan, hugging her knees, eyes red and swollen. The boy was asleep in the back seat, covered in what looked like a coat. Tom pulled over slowly. She didn't notice him at first. Then she looked up, her face twisted in panic. She stood, defensive, wiping her face quickly. "Mr. Brady, I'm sorry, I was just..." He held up a hand. "Maria, wait. Please. Just tell me what's going on." She didn't speak right away. And when she finally did, her voice broke. "I didn't know where else to go." To see what Tom discovers next, and the story behind Maria's heartbreaking situation, make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below. It means more than you know. Maria hesitated, her arms crossed tightly over her chest as if trying to hold herself together. Her eyes darted toward the car window, where her son still slept, his tiny face barely visible behind the smudged glass. Tom stood a few feet away, unsure whether to move closer or give her space. "I'm not asking for anything," she said suddenly. "I wasn't trying to take advantage. I just needed a few days until I found something else." Tom took a slow breath, trying to make sense of what he was hearing. "You left without saying anything. I thought maybe something happened to you." Maria looked away. Something did happen. The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that forces you to sit still and feel. Finally, she opened the car door, gently nudged her son awake, and whispered in Spanish. The boy stirred, then clung to her as she led him toward the motel entrance across the lot. "Come," she said softly to Tom. "You can see for yourself." Inside, the room smelled of bleach and wear. The curtains didn't quite close, and the air conditioner hummed too loudly. There were 2 bags on the floor, one with clothes, another with crackers, peanut butter, and a half-empty bottle of water. Maria lifted the boy onto the bed. He curled up instantly, as if used to falling asleep in strange places. "His name's Matteo," she said quietly. "He's 6. Tom looked at the child, then at her. "You've been living here?" "For 4 nights," she replied. "Before that in the car. Before that with my sister. But she got evicted 2 weeks ago." Tom ran a hand through his hair. "Maria, why didn't you say anything?" "Because people don't want to know," she said, voice trembling. "They want their houses cleaned, their laundry folded. They don't want to hear about immigration courts, unpaid medical bills, or shelters with 6-month wait lists." Her voice cracked. "You were always kind, Mr. Brady, but you live in a different world." Tom looked down, ashamed. She was right. He had never asked about her life outside his house, not once. He noticed the corner of a hospital bracelet sticking out of her bag. "What's that?" Maria hesitated. Then she pulled it out. "I took Matteo to the ER 3 weeks ago. He had a fever, 104. We sat there for 5 hours. And they sent us home with Tylenol and a bill for $980. I haven't been able to pay it." Tom sat down on the edge of the second bed. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I could have—" "No," she interrupted, firm now. "I didn't want money, I just needed time. But I couldn't keep bringing him to your house. If someone saw—" She didn't finish the sentence. Tom looked at Matteo again, small, fragile, unaware of the world bearing down on his mother. Something inside him tightened. "I can help," he said quietly. "But not just with money." Maria's eyes searched his face, unsure whether to believe him. "I'm serious," he added. "There's space at my guest house. It's private, and Matteo would have a real bed." Her expression wavered between shock and suspicion. "You'd do that, just like that?" "No," Tom said. "Not just like that. I should have done something a long time ago." Maria looked down at her son, his little hand curled against the pillow. She didn't answer, but her shoulders finally dropped, and for the first time in a long while, she let herself cry. The next morning, Maria stood in the doorway of Tom's guest house, her son's hand wrapped tightly in hers. The early Florida sunlight filtered through the oak trees lining the driveway, casting soft shadows on the white stucco walls. "This can't be real," she whispered. Tom unlocked the door and pushed it open. "It's not much, but it's yours for now." The guest house had once been used by a visiting coach, then sat empty for nearly a year. It had a kitchenette, a small bedroom, a clean bathroom, and more warmth than any motel room ever could. Matteo ran inside first, barefoot, exploring every corner with silent curiosity. He stopped at the kitchen counter where Tom had left a box of cereal and a note written in Sharpie. "For Matteo." Maria stepped in slowly. Her hand grazed the wooden dining chair. "You didn't have to do this." "I know," Tom said, "but I wanted to." She nodded, but her face still held hesitation. "People say that, then they change their minds." Tom leaned against the doorframe. "I'm not people, not this time." For the rest of the morning, Maria unpacked quietly, while Matteo flipped through channels on the mounted TV. Tom stayed nearby, answering questions, showing them how to use the thermostat where the laundry room was, how to get groceries delivered if she needed. By early afternoon, Maria had showered and changed. She came out of the bathroom looking less like a ghost and more like the woman who used to hum while vacuuming. Tom noticed the change. "You look more like yourself." She gave a small smile. "That's because I actually slept." Tom hesitated before asking, "What about Matteo, school?" "He hasn't been enrolled since we left my sister's place," she said. "Too risky. I didn't have the documents." He nodded slowly. "Let me help with that too. We'll figure something out." Maria's eyes widened slightly. "You don't have to—" "I want to," Tom said. "Seriously, I know people. We can get him into a good program." Later that afternoon, Tom walked back to the main house. As he passed the hedge that separated the yard from the guest house, he saw Maria sitting on the steps with a small notebook open in her lap. She didn't see him. She was writing something, the pages already half filled. Her face was calm, focused. The next morning he found a note taped to his kitchen counter. "Mr. Brady, I'm grateful, and I'm not used to this. I need to earn this somehow, not just with cleaning. I can cook, organize. I speak English and Spanish. I don't want charity. I want purpose. Thank you." Maria. Tom folded the note, slid it into his pocket and stared out at the garden. He wasn't sure why her words hit him the way they did. Maybe because, since retirement, he had been waking up wondering about purpose too. He returned to the guest house around noon with two things: a key card for Maria and a small wrapped box. "For Mateo," he said, handing it over. Inside was a brand new set of colored pencils and a drawing pad. Tom shrugged. Thought he might like to draw. Maria turned the gift over in her hands. He hasn't had something new in months. Mateo took the pad, sat cross-legged on the rug, and began to draw without saying a word. Maria looked at Tom, tears rising again. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Tom met her gaze. "Just let me help." Maria stood at the sink in the guest house, hands submerged in warm water, scrubbing the same dish for the third time. Outside, Mateo's laughter echoed through the open window. He was running through the backyard, chasing a butterfly, while Tom watched nearby with folded arms and a grin that didn't feel forced. It had been 5 days since they'd moved in. Maria had started cooking meals again, not out of obligation but rhythm. Cooking grounded her. The smell of sautéed garlic, the warmth of a skillet, the small routines, they made her feel like life might be rebuilding itself, one tiny act at a time. But that morning something had changed. A letter arrived. No return address, just her name, scribbled in smudged ink. Tom had placed it gently on the kitchen table in the guest house. "This came for you," he said. "You okay?" She froze when she saw it. She knew the handwriting. It was her ex-husband. Later that night, after Mateo fell asleep, she finally opened it. "You think you can hide?" it began. "I know where you are. You took my son without permission. You think some rich guy will protect you?" "He won't!" Maria's hands shook. She'd left Luis almost 2 years ago. He was never legally listed on Mateo's birth certificate. No support, no presence, just a name that brought fear and a history she tried to bury. She sat on the edge of the bed, letter trembling in her hands. The door knocked gently. Tom stepped in, cautious. "I saw your face after reading that," he said softly. She looked up, helpless. "It's him. He found us." Tom walked over, took the letter from her, and read it slowly. "Does he have any legal claim?" he asked. "No," she said, "but that's never stopped him before. He's not afraid of police. He thinks I'm powerless." Tom exhaled, jaw tight. "You're not." Maria laughed bitterly. "I don't have papers. I don't have a bank account. I barely have a phone that works." "You have me now," he said, voice steady. Maria's eyes met his. "Why are you doing this?" Tom paused, choosing his words carefully. "Because for years, I chased perfection on the field. Super Bowls, records. But off the field, I let life pass by. I saw people, but I didn't see them. And when I watched you walk away that day, carrying everything you owned and holding your child's hand, I realized I couldn't be that man anymore." She swallowed hard. Tom leaned forward. "I have lawyers. I have resources. Let me protect you." Maria looked away. "He's dangerous, Tom. He doesn't care about rules." "Then we'll go beyond rules," Tom said. "We'll go to court. We'll get you and Mateo protected, legally. You won't have to run anymore." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded, almost imperceptibly. "I'm tired of running." The next day, Tom's legal team met with Maria. They began filing paperwork for a restraining order and emergency guardianship protections. It would take time. Nothing was ever fast in the system, but she wasn't alone now. Later that afternoon, Mateo handed Tom a drawing. It was a picture of the guest house with 3 stick figures, a tall man, a small boy, and a woman with long, dark hair. Above it, he had written one word in crayon: safe. Tom stared at it, emotion rising in his throat. He looked down at Matteo and said quietly, "That's exactly what we're going to be." 3 weeks later, the courtroom was quiet, fluorescent lights flickering above rows of wooden benches. Maria sat at the front, hands clasped tightly in her lap, her eyes fixed on the judge's every word. Tom sat beside her, dressed in a simple navy blazer. No cameras, no press. Just him, Maria, and a small legal team that had moved mountains in a matter of days. Luis never showed up. The judge granted a temporary restraining order and ruled that Matteo was to remain in Maria's custody, with no visitation rights for the biological father pending a formal review. More importantly, the judge agreed to expedite Maria's U-visa petition, protection for undocumented individuals who have suffered abuse and are assisting in legal proceedings. When it was over, Maria didn't cry. She just sat there, quiet and still, as if her body was still catching up to the weight that had finally been lifted. Tom gently tapped her shoulder. "It's done." She nodded. "I can breathe now." That evening they returned home, and for the first time in weeks Maria opened the windows in the guest house and let the breeze roll through the rooms. Matteo played barefoot in the grass, his laughter louder now, freer. Tom grilled steaks on the patio. Maria brought out arroz con pollo and roasted vegetables. They ate together under the porch lights, talking about nothing and everything: school lunches, old recipes, Florida weather. After dinner, Tom cleared the plates while Maria poured 2 glasses of sparkling water. "You've changed," she said, watching him from across the table. Tom smiled. "I think I've just woken up." "From what?" "From the idea that being great at something makes you complete." Maria studied him. "You really didn't know anything about me, did you?" He laughed. "Not until you disappeared." "And now?" "Now I know you're stronger than most people I've ever met." She looked down, hiding her smile. Later that night, Tom sat with Matteo on the guest house couch, flipping through the boy's drawing pad. Page after page, a house, a garden, stick figures smiling. One page had the word family scribbled across the top. Tom paused. "Did your mom help you with this one?" Matteo shook his head. "I did it by myself." Tom blinked slowly. "It's really good." The boy looked up. "Can I stay here forever?" Tom didn't answer right away. He ruffled the kid's hair. "As long as you need," he said. In the days that followed, Maria found a job offer through one of Tom's contacts, an office manager position at a small bilingual nonprofit. She'd never worked at a desk before, but they loved her energy and calm leadership. She hesitated at first. She didn't want to stop helping Tom around the house, but he told her the truth. "You don't belong cleaning anymore. You belong leading something." She accepted. On her last day cleaning the main house, she left a letter on Tom's kitchen island. "You didn't save me. You reminded me I was worth saving." "Thank you." A month later, Tom sat in the stands at Matteo's first t-ball game. Maria waved to him from the bleachers. She was smiling, a real unguarded smile, the kind people wear when they're no longer looking over their shoulder. He waved back, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel and click the video on screen. It was picked just for you, and you're going to love it.